Joon-woo was in his room playing an online game. Suddenly, his game friend said something strange was happening outside. He paused the game and went to see what it was. At that moment, his phone rang with an emergency alert. Then he heard loud screams coming from the street. With a confused look, Joon-woo approached the window. Outside, he saw many people running non-stop, as if they had seen something very frightening. In no time, the whole neighborhood was in turmoil. Fire trucks were passing by at high speed. As Joon-woo tried to understand, he noticed a woman going towards her daughter with a kitchen knife in hand. But the daughter, seeming out of control, lunged at her own mother. Joon-woo was motionless and shocked by what he saw. Suddenly, terrible screams were heard from outside. He went to the door and peeked through the hole. The corridor was deserted. Driven by curiosity, he opened the door a little. A man entered pushing. It was the resident from the apartment next door. The man explained that his apartment friend had lost control and he needed a place to stay. Joon-woo asked him to leave immediately. However, the man asked to use the bathroom before leaving. With hesitation, Joon-woo accepted. Meanwhile, a news report was playing on television informing that a zombie virus had spread throughout South Korea. Being bitten or scratched meant being infected. Hey, the movie I'm going to summarize is called Hash Alive. It's a zombie movie mixed with action, drama, horror, and suspense. It's a very good zombie movie. That's why I invite you to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave a like to receive the best recaps. Joon-woo quickly grabbed a sharp knife to protect himself. The man from the next apartment left, and Joon-woo warned him not to return. The man next door was trying to say everything was fine, but you could see his eyes were turning red, and he started moving strangely. In an instant, he turned into a zombie and lunged at Joon-woo. With great force, Joon-woo managed to throw the zombie out and locked the door with the refrigerator. When he was about to call his family, his phone rang with a message from his parents. In the message, they said they wouldn't be able to come home now and asked Joon-woo to stay alive no matter what. He knew he could only count on himself. Joon-woo had no idea how long he would need to survive. He arranged the little food that was left. The next day, he sent a drone to see how things were outside. He saw that zombies had taken over the entire place. Every apartment, every floor was full of them. During the night, Joon-woo woke up to the sound of gunshots. He crawled to peek. He saw that a police officer was fighting against the zombies. He could do nothing while she was surrounded and became zombie food. Suddenly, a loud knock sounded at the door. Very afraid, Joon-woo went there slowly with a baseball bat in hand. A zombie had entered. He tried to block the door with the refrigerator, but it didn't work. Suddenly, Joon-woo had an idea. He ran to the balcony as fast as he could. He held onto the fence. At the moment the zombie came at him, he dodged quickly. The zombie went straight through and plummeted. Joon-woo escaped this time, but the food that was in the refrigerator fell to the ground, becoming inedible. To avoid being seen, he covered the windows with whatever he could find. He wasn't sure how long he could last like this. Now, Joon-woo had to deal not only with zombies, but with the lack of food as well. After 15 exhausting days, Joon-woo started seeing things that weren't there. He imagined his parents coming home safe, but then he woke up to reality and couldn't take it. He fell to the ground, crying heavily. However, a voice message gave a glimmer of hope. It was from his parents, but the signal was very bad inside the house. Joon-woo had to risk putting the phone outside to get a signal. He succeeded, but only received one last message from his parents. It seems something very bad happened to them. Joon-woo, who was already at his limit, felt his heart freeze. He didn't want to live anymore. Determined to say goodbye to this world, Joon-woo was about to hang himself when a red laser beam hit his face. He was shocked to see that he wasn't alone. There was another person alive. Fighting hard, he managed to break free from the rope. Getting closer, he saw that it was a very beautiful girl. She spoke quickly with him and arranged to talk more the next day at 7 in the morning. But Joon-woo was late and only woke up at 11 o'clock. Yoo-bin had been watching him the whole time and saw that he needed food. She tried to throw a rope using a baseball bat, but couldn't throw it far enough and the rope fell. Luckily, Joon-woo had a drone. He used the drone to successfully take the rope to Yoo-bin. After the rope was established, Yoo-bin shared some of her food with Joon-woo. But while he was eating, Joon-woo realized something wasn't right. A firefighter who had turned into a zombie was holding the other end of the rope. This zombie still acted as if it were alive. He pulled the rope hard, making Yoo-bin fall and faint. The zombie started pulling the rope and moving towards Yoo-bin's house. Joon-woo wanted to stop the zombie but was too far away to manage, so he used a drone to try to distract the zombie. But it didn't work because the zombie broke the drone. At the moment the zombie was about to enter through the balcony, Yoo-bin woke up. With a quick strike, she made the zombie fall. Joon-woo was relieved to see Yoo-bin safe. However, the food she had given him was almost gone. Then, Joon-woo decided he needed to go out to get more food, even knowing the risks. If he didn't do this, he could die of hunger. He prepared himself and opened the door very carefully. Luckily, the corridor was free of zombies. Joon-woo found his neighbor's body and took his keys. When he entered the neighbor's apartment, he saw a lifeless body on the bed. He threw a shoe at the body, but there was no reaction. Feeling safe, he started looking for anything useful around the house. When he opened the refrigerator, he was hit by a bad smell, but he was lucky to find a jar of peanut butter and a sealed package of crackers. Joon-woo realized his neighbor liked mountain climbing, so he probably had equipment that could be useful. After a good search, he found 2 walkie-talkies. However, suddenly, a zombie appeared behind him and attacked him. Joon-woo managed to push the zombie away and ran out of the apartment and returned to his own. He needed to share some things with Yoo-bin and also pass the radio to her. Finally, they could talk to each other. After a long time without contact, they had a long conversation. However, happy moments don't last long. Suddenly, the zombies that were calm started moving without explanation. Both stayed quiet on the ground, trying not to make any sound. However, Yoo-bin ended up making a noise unintentionally. With the zombies approaching, Joon-woo quickly asked for Yoo-bin's room number and with his home skills called a phone in the room next to hers. They managed to draw the zombies' attention there. Not wanting to wait for the zombies to leave anymore, they decided to act. Yoo-bin observed and noticed that the 8th floor, right above where Joon-woo was, had no zombies. So they decided to go up there. After getting ready, Yoo-bin, who knew how to climb, went first. With a quick movement, she spun in the air and landed on her feet. There were many zombies around. With quick movements and precise knife cuts, she passed through one zombie after another. But there were too many. While trying to escape, a zombie made her fall. She saw a gun on the ground. When trying to grab it, a zombie attacked her. At the most dangerous moment, Joon-woo appeared to save Yoo-bin. Together, they ran through the crowd of zombies to a building. They closed the glass door to keep the zombies out and entered the elevator, going straight to the 8th floor. They thought they would be safe, but Yoo-bin looked and saw many zombies coming in their direction. Joon-woo bravely faced the zombies while Yoo-bin tried to open a door. Suddenly, she is pulled into a room by another person. Soon after, someone threw a smoke bomb and a masked man appeared to help. Yoo-bin, however, didn't trust the man. He offered food and water, but even hungry, they hesitated to eat. Only when the man ate first did they feel safe to eat too. The man assured that he had enough food to last until the rescuers arrived. At first, they didn't believe the story about the rescuers. However, when the man said he heard an announcement about the rescuers' arrival on the radio, they were filled with hope. They had no idea that something terrible was going to happen. Yoo-bin only realized the problem when it was too late. Joon-woo fell unconscious. The man wasn't the real owner of the house. He had tampered with the food they ate. Yoo-bin lost consciousness soon after. The man started tying them up. Yoo-bin was taken to a room where there was a trapped zombie. The man held the other end of the rope. The zombie was the man's wife, and he still felt great love for her, despite her having turned into a zombie. He was willing to use other people as food for her. The man slowly released the rope, and the zombie went for Yoo-bin. Screams filled the room. It was at this moment that Joon-woo woke up. He forced the man to open the door with a gun, but the man just dropped the rope. Joon-woo tried to grab it urgently, but couldn't hold it, even with much effort. The screams suddenly stopped in the room. The man carefully opened the door and was surprised by his zombie wife. She ended up biting him. Yoo-bin finished off both zombies using the gun. She could have used a knife. Unexpectedly, gunshot sounds attracted the attention of zombies in the neighborhood who entered the building. Both lost hope. Yoo-bin asked Joon-woo to shoot her. They preferred to control their destiny rather than be attacked by zombies. At the moment Joon-woo was going to shoot, they heard a helicopter. Looking through the window, they saw the rescue arriving. It was their only opportunity to not get caught. They needed to reach the top of the building. Joon-woo shot 2 smoke bombs, and Yoo-bin pushed a cart to make an escape route. They wasted no time and ran to the top of the building, with the zombies very close. By carelessness, Yoo-bin was grabbed by a zombie, but Joon-woo used his bicycle to protect her. She managed to escape using this chance. Joon-woo told her to go up and get help. However, upon reaching the top, the helicopter they were expecting wasn't there. Joon-woo faced the zombies coming towards him and managed to reach where Yoo-bin was. They found themselves trapped again. They started screaming desperately for help. The zombies broke through the final barrier, and Yoo-bin and Joon-woo were trapped. They had no more ammunition, and the zombies were approaching. Suddenly, they heard the sound of something spinning behind them. A helicopter appeared out of nowhere, launching an intense attack that quickly took out many zombies. The 2 people were saved and entered the helicopter, fleeing from that horrible area. They survived this hardship, looked at each other and smiled. Luckily, they resisted. And in different parts of the city, there were several others who survived, waiting to be saved. As long as they continue fighting to live, there will always be hope. Did you like the summary? Activate the bell to be notified of new videos. Don't forget that in the first pinned comment, I'll leave a playlist with the best zombie movies. So until the next recap,